I don't know, autism sounds like a German guy, honestly, to me. I mean,
there's always something a little bit different about Chase, just because the way in which he processed things, his character, his personality, it wasn't necessarily normal. It was just something that was different. It was just his mannerisms, and not that it didn't click with others, it was just who he was.
It was definitely a little awkward.
In some ways it was helpful to just have somebody say, that's what it is. That's why everything is upside down and inside out, and why your child just moves through the world so completely different, or why he melts down, or, you know, in those days it was tantrums and screaming and breaking my nose.
I only did it once.
No, you broke my nose twice.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. How you describe it, it can be really different for each person. I've met a few people who they talk about being autistic or having autism as being dialed in or being too connected. And for me, I think it was the same way, of just having so many things and being aware of them, of being, you know, the sights, the sounds, people talking, what they're saying, what they're showing, and then trying to make sense of all that could just be too much sometimes.
It is not always obvious that children have disabilities because many are unseen to the human eye. The first clue might be their behavior. They may have difficulty fitting in socially, making friends. Their frustration tolerance might be low. But the disability itself is unseen.
I'm remembering that it was really hard when people had really strong reactions, real negative reactions to Chase, because he was my little boy, and people just were critical or were sure that he was just didn't understand rules, or he needed to be disciplined, or you know, you'd be aware you'd walk into a meeting and you could tell they went, oh, he's here tonight, you know, and you'd get the eye roll, or it was kind of like, you know, the heavy sigh. And I would just want to take him and run. It was like, I don't want to be there. I don't want to put him through that. And I hated feeling judged as a parent, or feeling completely misunderstood.
When you approach any child with one-size-fits-all kind of mentality, you're bound to run into obstacles, because each child is so unique and different, and children with disabilities present unique needs and they need to be looked at quite individually and provided for.
Yeah, I started in Cub Scouts and I went right up to my 18th birthday, you know. I think I even turned in my packet like the day I turned 18, and they kind of...
Oh, for your Eagle?
For my Eagle, yeah. So going through that whole long time, I ran into a lot of Scout leaders, and there was definitely Scout leaders who I didn't connect with.
When I think back about leaders, the leaders that wanted Chase to fit in, and they had one kind of view of how a boy fits in, those were disasters. And I would try and explain to them that, you know, Chase just saw the world differently, or if things were too chaotic, it wasn't going to be a good fit. But the leaders that made the difference were those who really just cared about Chase. It wasn't about him being one of the boys, or him being like the rest of the troop, or him needing to grow up and do what a good scout does when they're 13 or 14. It was about those going, why, you know, tell me about Chase and what can I do so Chase can come to scout camp.
There certainly wasn't any poor treatment or any discriminatory treatment or anything of that nature. But I could tell it was a little harder for Chase to fit in during the high school years.
The Eagle Scout is the highest expectation that many boys achieve and seek to achieve when they enter the scouting program. Yet there are a lot of boys who the scouting program, just the experience itself, is going to be a tremendous benefit, even though they may not be on that path, to ultimately complete the Eagle Scout. The opportunities that the scouting provides with, socially and teamwork and organization and just to expand the boys' horizons as far as interest and skills is just a tremendous benefit, whether they're on that path or not.
And said, you can ride with me, you'll just be with me. His good friend was going, but even then he was really hesitant. And so we kind of agreed that I would go get him if it didn't go well. I made sure that Bill Bunker knew that if there was a problem, it didn't matter where Scout Camp was, I'd be there, to not push Chase. If it didn't go well, to just call me.
Chase did have some trouble coping with the barbs and taunts and some of the unfortunate teasing that goes on in those teenage years. And I recall that he wanted to run off and go home and take off, and he and I went for a walk and just had a nice little chat, and I said, just hang out with me. You can be with me and you can follow me around, and I'll go to your merit badge classes, or if you prefer not, we'll fish at the lake, which is Shaver Lake there, and I don't recall a lot of details, except I just said, you can stick by my side and kind of be my buddy.
They got through it. I didn't get a phone call. Chase made it through the rest of the week, came home with his merit badges and was thrilled. But I also know that's a situation that could have gone completely opposite than that.
Boys who struggle socially to fit in and to navigate their world, whether it's with their senses or their emotions, struggle in a huge way that is unseen often. Often we might see behavior that looks like it's designed to ruin our day, but it's actually these kids really work hard and struggle and put a ton of energy into just maintaining and being able to participate in a simple group activity, which for you and I might be easy and not take a lot of energy. For a child with a lot of needs, it can be exhausting. And their frustration, when that ramps up and their behavior starts coming out, it's typically because they're exhausted. They don't perhaps know what to do, and they're frustrated. But they want often to fit in and to be a part of the group, but it's very difficult for them to do. So even if you can't see that, expect that they are working very hard to be a part. Yeah, by the time you see behavior, the child has probably gone through many layers of amping up and frustration where they've tried strategy after strategy that aren't working for them, and that's a peak of energy that they've put out in where they're trying to adjust and fit in and calm themselves, and it's just not working. So at that point, they're ramped up a lot higher than you even realize because they've been working at it for so long. There's a tip of the iceberg where there's a whole lot underground that you can't see and you haven't seen before that tip even emerges.
One of the things that Chase added to our adventures in Boy Scouting are the small intricacies that typically most people just don't observe. Chase is extremely observant, and it would be something as small as noticing a little animal next to the road, or seeing something that just other people didn't look for. People are, when they're hiking or camping or doing something of that nature, they kind of glance over things, and Chase loves to take an intimate look into something, and I think that added a great detail into my experience with Boy Scouts and him as well.
So to have another adult or leader in scouting say, I want to be with you as a mom, as a parent, and how do I reach Chase? What's working for him? That would have been just the best thing in the world. And I appreciated how hard that was, and very rarely was there a leader who did it. And all it took was 1 or 2 leaders through Chase's many years in scouting for him to just go, okay, I'm here. The leaders that made the most difference were those who said, I don't have a clue how to help Chase. I've got to watch Chase or ask Chase what he needs from me. And those seem to be the leaders that got him, and he got them then, and he let him into his life and made more difference.
It's one of those things where you just accept those for who they are and you make it work. Even if sometimes it's perhaps a little bit difficult or maybe even embarrassing or something to that nature.
The best advice I could maybe give to another scout trying to help a fellow scout who struggles with things similar to autism is to give that person a chance to know you outside of just a troop activity. Give them a chance to know you one-on-one, and to make the effort, to make the risk to know them, because even though they may seem disconnected from everything and lost in their own world, they recognize, or at least I was able to recognize, when people wanted to make the effort to know me and were willing to put themselves in a place of vulnerability to say, I want to get to know you, or I want to spend time with you, and to make that first step. If someone was willing to make the first step, I was often very willing to make the next.